All right, welcome back to Eliminate the Gap, Season 2. And as you can see, I am joined, as promised, with one of our new co-hosts, Sharouk Zidane. Welcome, Sharouk.
Hi,
and we're excited to jump in and give you all a little international flavor of some of the wonderful things that are happening out there in the world with our guest today, Analia Pastran. And I am going to tell you just a little bit more about her. We're very excited to have her. Analia is the founder and CEO of Smartly Social Entrepreneurship on the SDGs. She's a co-chair of the professionals group in the WUC steering committee of the UN Habitat, a mentor in the global hack of the UN SDG action campaign, and in the Hatch Collab in Geneva, and many, many other things. So we're very, very excited to have Analia with us. So welcome, Analia.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sharouk. It's a pleasure to be with all of you and the audience as well.
Oh, thank you so much. So why don't we just jump in here and have you just explain, at least to me, I'm guessing Sharouk knows a little bit, and certainly to the audience, about what is Smartly and what is the work that's all involved with that organization.
Okay. Smartly is a social enterprise that localize and communicate the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 agenda that was adopted by the member states of the United Nations in 2015, where there are huge global goals that every institution, no matter if it's public, private, or academic, or from the civil society, has to implement as well. That means how to improve our quality life in terms of quality education, having a very green jobs, green cities, sustainable and resilient communities. And mainly we work with the whole environment. We work with public and private sector, and also with universities in Latin America, because they have, as you know, their strategic plan, but they have to link that strategic plan with the global goals. And They have to show how is their impact, how are they working out, how is the specific indicators that show their effort to get and allow to their communities to get a sustainable and better quality of life.
And just for, again, our audience here, are there there's 17 of them, if I remember correctly, 17 broad areas. What are some of the areas specifically Smartly's focused in on, or are you attempting to do all of them?
Well, mainly the 17 SDGs with the 169 targets are cross-cutting. They are interconnecting. So, of course, from your organization, for example, if you are a municipality, you are working mainly with, I don't know, with rural communities. Well, you are probably impacting in some SDGs more than in others. So what we do is how to communicate your effort, how to measure your effort. And mainly we are trying to use the human resources, the own capacity of that local actor to show their impact. So they don't have to go to get more resources from other region or from other organization. We show them that probably they are doing an impact on SDGs, but without knowing it. So what we are trying to show is that no matter where you are, as human beings, we are trying to be better. We are trying to be more responsible with our ecosystem. Mainly, I would like to say that we are living right now in three crises at the same time. We are having the post-recovery from COVID-19, the climate change crisis, and also the global security crisis. So right now, our generation is having three different situations that are changing your goals, and you have to act in a different way. Because if you are thinking like 10 years ago, you are going to lose a lot of opportunities, and mainly you're going to lose the time to change what we have to change. So we are working mainly to raise awareness with the leaders, the politicians, with the professors and the academic ecosystem as well, because from university you have the next generation of leaders, the next graduates that are going to change, or they have to change their own communities. So we're working with them. And also from private sector as well, trying to show the relevance of having green and sustainable enterprises, businesses. So we are working with the business schools from, especially in USA, with the George Washington University, with the International Council for Small Business, in Cornell University in New York, IPAC in Paris, trying to also give a new academic approach to this, showing that sustainability it has to be profitable. It's mandatory right now. It's not something that we have to talk about like it's a hope and something that we are imagining. It's something that we need to build the specific tools, and we're working mainly on that.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I mean, I've touched base with all the work that Smartly has been doing, and especially what Analia has been trying to achieve. It's not easy. Definitely not easy, especially when you want to engage different communities to reach that level of resiliency that we are talking about. I know that you've been working across many countries, and you've had the chance to deal with different cultural and social aspects that are very much different in how they portray, or they even understand the aspects of SDGs. So my question is, how have you been able to steer within these different ecosystems in order to, actually achieve results or meet the objectives that you have been so forwardly and courageously working towards?
Mainly, I think that the Sustainable Development Goals are giving us a universal language, a diverse language to talk about difficult problems, and the problems that we've been having as human beings for since ever. And but right now we have this opportunity as SDGs like hashtags. So if I'm talking, for example, well, with my university, we're focused on empowering women. So I'm focused on SDG 5. So I can connect my university with other universities, with other public sectors that are focused, their work are focusing in that SDGs as well. So remember that right now we are living, I'm also a professor of transnational policy, and I'm always telling to my students that we have right now in a globalized world, we have the globalization phenomenon that changed completely everything. We have interconnections through the new technologies, these devices, this internet mainly, where we have the capacity as local actors to connect to other actors everywhere, no matter where you are. And mainly, if you connect your effort, your goal, and you communicate that through your social media, for example, this podcast, what the effort that through this podcast you are doing to empower women, to visualize their work. Well, if you communicate that this action in this Sustainable Development Goals framework is going to give you more opportunities for partnerships, to improve your effort. And that's something that when you have this in mind, it gives you the word to work. So you have more opportunities to strengthen your network And I think in this century, that's a key point to start. And yeah.
Definitely. I also think it's very important to be able to reach out to disadvantaged communities, or specifically, like you said, there is a generation of youth where we're sort of putting all our hopes on to, you know, move forward and start really implementing sustainable action to actually meet the SDGs. And when you look at you know, after the COVID-19, I think this became something that is very much visible with regards to the importance of women and youth and their role in participating in, you know, in taking certain actions. So I'd like to know, maybe we can just put a little bit more focus on that. I'm very much interested to know about how have you been engaging with this particular segment, youth and women, and you know, ensuring that there is ownership of the initiatives within their own communities, especially that they are at a certain, from a certain perspective, or within certain communities, they are still considered, you know, minority.
Well, mainly we work with those communities that they have their vital necessities covered. Because for being an entrepreneur, you have at least not an entrepreneur for surviving. I mean, entrepreneurship as a model for creativity and innovation, you have to be at least cover your necessities in terms of food, clothing, etc. So mainly we work with that kind of youth that is going to have the opportunities to change, to get leader positions and to change the rules of their own community. Because I think that's the key point, because we need to give them the opportunity of think to how you are going to develop your local city. What are the necessities that your local city needs, and the different targets that you have there. And mainly remember that for 2015, the cities are going to triplicate the number of their citizens, the rulers. So we need to do something about, and we're working with, in terms of women empowerment, having more women involved in the organizations, in the leader positions, because well, you know, that when you as women, when we have the opportunity to get a leader position, the decision-making position, you feel sometimes alone. You feel that you don't have a network of fellows to ask them for advices. And that's completely different for us in the terms of the male environment, because they do, for example, sports, and they catch up and they do business as well. But as women, we don't have that kind of informal framework to connect and to get the real power. So we're working on that, on that sense, and with Global 5 Network as well, we're trying to do that effort, trying to connect the different regions and showing how women are having the same struggles no matter where you are, and no matter what culture you have. We have this this thing that the struggle to access to the real power. And with youth, we work specifically with universities, because we think that the university has the capacity to think in long term. Not at the same as the political sector and public sector, because you have the democracy change terms that by 4-6 years, you are changing the people. But the university has that capacity, and especially in Latin America, or in some countries that we have a lot, well, a lot to improve in terms of quality, institutional quality. The universities could play a key role on that. And for that, we need to have professors that can connect with their students, can create the future leaders. And mainly they're asking us for building that capacity. They're asking us for trainings, for advisor, yes, some kind of advisement in terms of that advisement. And we're doing that effort in terms of trying to give them that specific tools. So yeah, we're working in those sense, because we think those are the sectors that we need to improve, or at least from Smartly, we have the capacity to give them tools.
That's very helpful and very encouraging on one hand. So it's interesting, you mentioned about globalization, right? So we're sitting here doing this podcast today, and I'm in the center part of the United States. Sharuk's in Cairo, you're in Argentina.
Buenos Aires, yeah.
You know, in Buenos Aires. And so here we are having this conversation. And I can tell you, so I said that's great on one hand. On the other hand, it's disheartening once again for me sitting here in the US, because the SDGs and this commitment and this consciousness of reaching those sustainable development goals are not part of conversation here in the States, unless you're somebody who works on it. It isn't part of it. And so much of what you're describing, you know, has to happen, you know, with young people, with women, with other minority groups for sure. And I just don't see it here. And once again, I feel like as somebody who cares about this, that I have to once again continue to look to the leadership from folks in other countries to really help, you know, make this movement happen. And then here within our own environment, we need to think long and hard about our role in all of this, and we just haven't, in my opinion. So you mentioned that our generation's facing three crises, and I would absolutely agree that we are. But once again, if I walk down the street here, maybe somebody will say something about COVID, but they won't mention the other two. It's just not part of their life, and that's just a reality here, and part of the role that I think our country needs to just do a heck of a lot better job of not just speaking outwardly, but speaking much more inwardly. So that's enough of my editorializing piece.
Well, I would like to say a little thing. I think that right now you have the opportunity with this new government, with Biden administration. I know they're doing an effort in terms of climate change because they're trying to increase the budgeting of that. They have, of course, to negotiate with the Congress. But I think that at least from now, we can observe that change. But we need to see if that is going to be translated in concrete actions. And mainly, of course, USA, it could be, it has to be the main leader on this, because it's the main country of this world. So we need that responsibility. I know that there are a lot of universities, professors, that they are trying to do their effort. And of course, perhaps it has to be bottom up, that change. But we need to, with this kind of action, with visualizing this and communicating, disseminating the relevance of working in this sense, and how from other parts of the globe we are doing an effort on this. Perhaps we can give, I don't know, we could be part of the solution as well. So I would like to encourage you, both of you, on this sense, with this action, with this podcast, trying to illuminate and to give tools and information to those members of the audience that perhaps they can have a key role on this.
Yeah, so just real quick, I wanted to, so to that end, because there'll be a fair amount of folks here from the United States listening in to the podcast, and whether it's on here now or as something that we share when we release the episode, I'm always interested in resources and tools and tips, you know, that folks, while it's formal or not, within an organization or a group, what are those kinds of tools that maybe we can grab onto that are practical, that are inherently are working toward, the same goals here?
Well, I can share you that information. We have reports from the World Urban Campaign of UN Habitat. We are working there. That is a program from UN Habitat with more than 300 organizations worldwide. We are part of the 15 members of the steering committee. And that there in that board, we have these reports. We are trying to measure and showing the concrete sustainable and green solutions everywhere, from everywhere. So of course we can give you that links and that reports, and that it could be something perhaps relevant for your audience as well.
That's perfect.
Yeah, Charuk, do you have a parting question before we move to a wrap here?
So you mentioned, Analia, that we are now facing with 3 pressing issues that we really need to focus on. Can you give us maybe some advice on the kind of roadmap that we need to take forward to our listeners, and what do they need to know, or what do they need to do in order to keep things on track, regardless of what is taking place around the world at the moment?
Mainly, we have to observe. Observation is a key point to start and see, of course, from where you are located, you have a different responsibility in terms of this crisis. It's not the same. If you are in Europe, of course, the global security is affecting you mostly than in Latin America. But the climate change crisis, it has to be a main thing to work in the USA, because the consumerism is leading by the US. It's led by the US. So the responsibility is not the same like, I don't know, El Salvador, that they have a level of consumerism more low than the US. In terms of COVID-19, it's the same. You have to, first of all, think about, okay, what is the level, how this health crisis affected my economy, how we can improve that in terms of, for example, if your nurses, the medical system, it was affected for that in terms of which percentage. So you need data for that. And with that framework, with that scenario, you can think then in the plan, what we have to do. Unfortunately, our leaders, they are thinking in the plan without knowing the scenario. Mm-hmm. So that's when you alternate the steps, the result is not going to be what you are expecting. And unfortunately, this is something that we've been observing worldwide. And this is something that from from our effort, with our partners, we are trying to show the necessity of observation, the necessity of thinking in terms of this crisis, and the level of responsibility from your own local sector. It's not the same if you are an academic sector, if you are a public sector, if you are a politician, you have a different key role on this. So where you are, in which part of the society, in the different part of the decision-making as well level, and also your decision or your ideas, they have to be focused on that. And the plan is going to be different. So I encourage you, all of you, to think in terms of this model, trying to build a better world right here, right now, because we really need a new way of doing things. We really need peace. We really need sustainable cities, sustainable communities for our own and for our future generations.
Wow, thank you.
Yes, absolutely, and that's some powerful ways to leave us parting thoughts here for today's episode. Professor Analia Pastran, thank you so much for taking some time with us and sharing that insight. I know that the folks down in Latin America will continue to be in great hands, and we will continue to do our part to observe, use data, think critically, and we'll continue to get those kinds of messages out. And well, okay, let's take some action.
Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, so thank you so much for taking some time with us today, and we look forward to sharing some of the resources that you share with our group, and best of luck to you.
Thank you very much, Analia.
Thank you, my dear. And well, we keep in touch. And to the audience, please take action, as Shorrock said, please, on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.